Hey everyone, welcome back. So it's Monday, January 17th, Martin Luther King Day. I am trying to work as little as possible today, but unfortunately I have some lab experiments going that I have to collect data points for today. Otherwise it will kind of, ruin the rest of the experiment. This is pretty typical for the work I do. I also went into the lab on Thanksgiving and Christmas. This is certainly not something that's a part of everyone's research career, but for the specific methods that I use and the types of questions that I like to address, unfortunately, the work is lab intensive, and not just lab intensive, but I have to go in relatively frequently. So today I have to be in around 11:30 to 1 and from 5:30 p.m. to around 7 p.m. I am going to take the rest of the day off in between that. I'm going to go hang out with my parents right now. We actually are planning to repaint my childhood room, so I'll probably show you a little video of that. It's funny. I'll update you when we get there. But yeah, so got the first set of data points collected. The data actually looked somewhat promising, so I might analyze that this afternoon, because sometimes when I have fresh data, I just can't wait to analyze it. I mean, it is one of the exciting things. You kind of put so much work into an experiment, sometimes over months or years, and when you finally get to a point where you're actually able to see the data, I mean, that's really exciting. It's one of my favorite parts of science. So when I give that data a look, I will definitely give you an update.
Go rest for more. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive?
Alright, so it's 6 p.m. on Monday, and I just took the second time point for the experiment that I'm running. It's a set of growth curves, and essentially what we're looking to check is to see if there is adaptation in the experimental evolution project that we have been running since June.
Any minute, going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive, or just breathing?
It's kind of all over the board. It looks like some kind of treatments have adapted and some haven't, which is not surprising. The populations or the treatments that have had the most death are the ones that appear to be not adapted yet. And that's expected, because if they keep dying, they're generally not doing that well and likely not adapting. So I have one more time point in this experiment that I'll collect, which is the 48-hour time point, which will be tomorrow at noon. All right, welcome to my childhood bedroom. So this is the painting project for yesterday. We didn't get that far. We did all of the blue tape and we tested out some colors. So actually the backstory on these paint colors is when I was young, I don't know, like a preteen, like 11 or something, I decided to paint my room, this is my childhood room, orange and pink. Very bright, which I loved growing up, but I've been staying here more often now that my parents actually live closer to my work than I do, for various reasons. And so I've been wanting to repaint, so kind of taking the plunge, trying to get the project done. And I've actually been trying to do this for a while, because a few years ago I went out and I purchased this paint color without telling my parents, and I painted this square, and I was like, what do you think? I'm gonna paint the room this color. And my parents hated it, especially my dad. He calls it Battleship Gray. He's much more into bright colors. He thought it was depressing. So we're now debating between these two colors over here, and I think I'm gonna go with the bigger square right here. So yeah, we're hoping to get that done in the next few weeks, and I think it will make the room feel way better, and I'll be way happier here than in this kind of, there was a lot of junk in here too. So we're painting it, we're moving in new furniture, we're doing a bunch of stuff, so it'll be great.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit.
All right, so it's the end of the day, Tuesday. Just got back from the lab, working on a few experiments. Just had a meeting with my boss to go over some new data that we collected. I might show you some of that data in a second. It's looking a lot more promising for our experiment than some of the data we collected in weeks past. So that is obviously very good news. Last thing that I have to do today before I wrap up and head out for the day is one of the students that I'm working with, she's an undergraduate student. She's applying to a summer fellowship and she's been working really hard on her application. And so I gotta edit that for her, send that back, and then maybe answer a few emails, and I'm out for the day. So not too exciting in terms of lab work, lots of analyzing data and computer work and kind of similar things in the lab to what you've seen before. But yeah, sometimes this job has a lot of repetition, and that's just the way things go. Yay! All right, it's Thursday and it's snowing, just barely. But this winter has been so light on snow and it's very sad. So, gotta come out and enjoy it while you can. This little river area I often drive by on my way to work, and it's so beautiful. I just love it. When it was getting cold, but wasn't too cold yet, I used to come and swim in this river. And I feel like today would be the perfect day for a swim if it wasn't for the fact that I had to be to work. So here's my to-do list for today. A number of things on here are things that I work on for months at a time, so they're not necessarily going to get done today, but I'm going to work on them. Other things, usually the lab stuff, I'll be doing today. So today I have to make more media for the main experiment, which is something that we're constantly doing. So today I was actually supposed to have help from an undergrad. However, because of the snow, he was unable to make it in. So I'm gonna have to spend a bit more time in the lab today, unfortunately, than I was planning. And this is just a product of the undergraduate students still having their classes remote. So none of them are living on campus, which means that wherever they live, they have to drive in order to work. And that puts a huge burden on basically the whole lab in terms of our productivity. The university hasn't banned research activities, so they're fine to come in. However, because they live so far from campus and then also have to balance that with their remote schedule, it just becomes somewhat of a logistical nightmare. So as you'll see, I've got a lot of tasks today that I normally wouldn't do at this stage in my career, but when no one else comes in to do them, I have to do them. That's just kind of the way things go. So we got to make more media. We have to do the transfers today. So every other day I transfer 8 96 well plates full of cells to fresh media. And that is about a 2-hour process that we do between 2 and 4 on those designated days. So that's usually work that an undergrad also handles. I cover the transfers whenever an undergrad can't. I also have to take a final time point for the time series that I've been running this week. So I took a time point at 0 hours, so like the start of the experiment, 24 hours, 30 hours, 48 hours, and now I'm going to do 72 hours today. I have some analyses I'm working on, so analyses from that continuous data set, and then I also have some RNA analyses that I'm working on that are have been in the back burner for a while. I also have, edits for 3 papers that I'm working on right now, as well as another paper that I'm kind of writing that hasn't been submitted yet, so isn't in revision. So lots of fun stuff to do, and lots of people knocking on my door asking where the stuff is that I should be getting done. And it's challenging not to kind of let that pressure and that feeling like you're never doing enough to really overwhelm you. I've got my handy dandy jug. Before I make media this morning, I need to go get more Nano Pure water, which is about a building over and a few floors up. So, fun times. I think one of the things with science that people don't realize is that you actually have to be really resilient to be a scientist. So I think it's generally accepted, and at least it's certainly been my experience, that the majority of the experiments that you're going to run will fail, especially if you're kind of on the cutting edge of trying out new methods. And so this just means that you have to put up with a lot of failure, not just failure in experiments, but also, most of the writing that you do will also fail. Your grants will not be, funded. Your papers will be rejected. And then you get to read a long document about all the reasons that reviewers rejected your document. And so you really have to build up this tough skin that allows you to say, this failure, this series of failures doesn't define me, and I'm going to keep going. the reason that I decided to become a scientist, and I think the reason that many people do, is because it does allow you this incredible level of independence where you're essentially allowed to go out into the world and ask, what questions are out there that are left to answer? What fascinates me? And so for me, originally, I was really interested in kind of nature and climate change, and particularly understanding how microbial communities might adapt to changing climates. And through kind of following this research pursuits, I came to understand that microorganisms could adapt rapidly, oftentimes we believed faster than higher organisms such as humans. And so I was really interested in understanding if that was true, largely because I thought potentially it's not true. Because one of the things that I, always observed early on is that we were not necessarily doing the best job of measuring microbes properly.